January 26, 2023, and I am calling the Minnesota Education Finance Committee meeting to order. This morning we have two bills on our agenda. The first one is Senate File 123, and I have Senator Gustafson. Senator Gustafson, would you like to make a motion to move Senate File 123 before the committee to lay it over? You can lay it over. To lay it over for possible inclusion in our omnibus.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, I think this is actually going to go on to finance.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's what I thought, but
okay.
You're the boss.
Correct me when I'm wrong. So I appreciate that. So Senator Gustafson, welcome to the committee. You may proceed by briefly introducing your bill, Senate File 123, and then we will hear from your testifiers. Thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members. I am the chief author of a bipartisan bill. It's SF 123, and I want to talk a little bit about why this bill is important and not just a nice thing, but a necessary thing. So, as a teacher and a mom of 4, I know both sides of the story. My daughter texts me almost daily to ask if her and her sister have enough money in their account for lunch. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I'll have to transfer over some money, and it's fine, but there were many years where I struggled to do that. And unfortunately, this is common with many families in Minnesota. As a teacher, I've had countless students come into my classroom looking for food, not just for themselves, but also for their siblings. Being hungry makes learning almost impossible. There's no worksheet or assignment, test, or project that will matter to a student who hasn't had anything to eat. There's not a reading program or a math strategy that will improve scores if a student doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. First and foremost, providing free meals in schools ensures that all students have access to nutritious foods, regardless of their family's income level. This is crucial when addressing food insecurity, which affects many families in Minnesota. When students are hungry, it's difficult for them to concentrate and learn, and this in turn can have a negative impact on their academic performance by providing free meals. We can ensure that all students have the necessary fuel to succeed in school. Furthermore, providing free meals in schools can also help reduce the financial burden of low-income families. Many families struggle to make ends meet, and the cost of school meals can be a significant expense. By eliminating this cost, we can help ease the financial stress on these families and allow them to use their limited resources on other important expenses. Often, we go into our communities and we say we're going to work to keep hard-earned money in the pockets of the families we represent. This bill would do just that. Additionally, offering free meals in public schools can also help to reduce the stigma associated with receiving free or reduced price meals. Many children are embarrassed to be seen as receiving free meals, and this leads to feelings of shame and isolation. By providing free meals to all students, we can eliminate the stigma and create a more inclusive and equitable school environment. Finally, the connection between nutrition and mental health can't be underlined enough. When students have access to nutritious meals, they experience less anxiety, mood swings, and an improved ability to focus. Right now, as we sit here, an estimated 274,886 students are on free and reduced lunches in Minnesota. And that doesn't count low-income families that are just over the qualifications required for free reduced meals. That describes a lot of families. That's been my family. Just over the line, but not quite enough to make it. Universal meals in our schools is not a publicity stunt. It isn't a nice thing to do. It's a critical policy that will improve the lives of thousands of Minnesota students and families. I am proud to say this bill has bipartisan support, including Senator Duckworth, a member of the Education Policy Committee who voted unanimously on this. Last week, we heard him say that this bill is the right thing to do, something he felt strongly about after talking with his own kids. I ask for that same support today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. I think first off, we have Colleen Moriarty. Yep, great. She is the Executive Director for Hunger Solutions. Would you please state your full name for the record, and then you may begin your testifying. I am very sorry. We're going to take a little change from that. I understand you have an amendment?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the Senate File 123. The A3 amendment fixes the bill, is introduced by removing the requirement. So you'll see there, the Amendment 3 is what I'd like to introduce here. Sorry.
Okay. So you're moving the A3 amendment before the committee to be adopted. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the amendment, or is this just to put put your bill in the order that you want it?
It puts our bill in the order. Hold on one moment here. Let me make sure that we are on the right. The A3 amendment fixes the bill as introduced by removing the requirement that school districts participate in the USDA National Lunch Program. But if the schools decide to participate in the state's free school meals program, they participate in the national. So that is removing that. And then the A4 amendment, oh, I'm sorry, I'm probably moving too fast.
No, go ahead.
Is that okay? Okay. And then it talks about the community eligibility provision, which then provides federal dollars to high poverty schools to serve meals at no cost. So this addresses that, and the A3 amendment should be distributed now to everybody.
Wonderful. Any questions on the amendment, members? Okay. With no questions, then we're going to move to a voice vote on adopting the A3. And if there are any questions before that, otherwise, Senator Cruen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is to the bill author. Can you just kind of generally, in more layman's terms, explain the difference in these eligibility requirements from the bill as it was originally drafted and the amendments?
Senator Gustafson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so there is going to be a little bit different of a requirement in order for this program to work. We had to change sort of how people will apply and what steps are necessary in order from like what they get from the federal plan first and then what Minnesota will make up. When we have our testifiers come up, they'll be able to go into more depth about it, and that might answer your questions further, if that makes sense.
Senator Cruen, follow up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the question, the direct question is, substantively, does the amendment change which schools will be eligible to participate in this program, and if so, which schools are included or excluded?
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Cruen. All schools are encouraged and eligible to apply.
Follow up? Thank you. Anybody from the audience? Please state your full name and you may go ahead with your comment.
Sure. Madam Chair, members, my name is Darren Cordy. I'm an Assistant Commissioner for the Office of Student Support Services at the Minnesota Department of Education. Did help work with nonpartisan staff and the author on this amendment. The issue with the bill as written is that it required participation in the community eligibility provision, which is a federal provision where if you have a high enough number of students who are directly certified for free or reduced price lunch, basically you're eligible to have all your students at that school site be funded for free, at the free rate from the federal government. As we ran the bill by our counterparts at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, they shared an opinion from their Office of General Counsel, which stated that states can't mandate participation in the community eligibility program. However, they can incentivize it. So this bill basically, I should say the amendment creates two paths for those that are eligible for the community eligibility provision at full funding. If they want to get full funding for free school meals, they have to go down that path. For all other schools, they're eligible to get state funding for free school meals.
Follow up, Senator Cruen.
Thank you. With this, in part of this, I think I know the answer, but I think it's important to discuss in public. But if a private school chose to participate in this program, would they be eligible for the free lunch?
Response?
Madam Chair and Senator Kuhn, yes. So all participants in the National School Lunch Program would be eligible for the state-funded free school meals program. Of course, participation in the National School Lunch Program is voluntary, so not all non-publics would have to participate, but if they participate in the National School Lunch Program, they would be required to participate in the free school meals program as well.
Follow-up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this will be my last one. And I'm not asking for specific numbers here, obviously, but to give a general feel to the committee, I guess the first question would be, do all of our, I'm assuming all of our public schools do participate in this. And then the second question would be, of our private schools, do you have kind of a percentage or kind of a breakdown of how many currently participate in this that would be eligible, and then your expectations about if this does pass, if that's going to change that percentage of participation?
Mr. Corte?
Sure, Madam Chair and Senator Kuhn. So the vast majority of school districts and charter schools do participate in the National School Lunch Program. We do have fewer that participate in the school breakfast program, but not everybody participates in everything. Again, it's a voluntary program. They can choose to be in it or not. We certainly hope that by offering free school meals to all National School Lunch Program participants, that would encourage participation in the program. We can certainly get you numbers in terms of non-public school participation and meal claims that they're submitting, but to your point, yes, we would hope that we would see more non-public schools as well as public schools participate in the program as an incentive from this bill.
All right. Seeing no more questions, we're going to move on to a voice vote to adopt the A3 amendment. Sammy, would you please take the vote? Oh, it's just, excuse me. It's just a voice vote. So, I'm sorry. All right. So, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The A3 amendment is adopted. So now I understand you have another amendment, the A4 amendment. Would you please tell us about this amendment, Senator Gustafson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The A4 amendment just fills in the blank appropriations for the free school meals program as identified by the fiscal note. It provides $191 million for the fiscal year 24, the lunch portion of the free school meals program, and $198 million in fiscal year 25, and the free breakfast appropriation for 25.2 in fiscal year 24 and 25.8 in fiscal year 25. So details are included, and I believe in your packets.
Okay, so that is basically the appropriation. Are there any questions regarding this amendment? All right, seeing no questions or discussion on adopting the A4 amendment, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The A4 is adopted. Now we have our bill in order. Senator Gustafson, thank you so much for going through the process. Would you please, do you want to introduce your bill a little bit more, or should we go on to testifiers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think testifiers would be appropriate now.
Okay. So we have in front of us Ms. Moriarty. Would you please state your full name and for the record, and then you may begin your testimony.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Colleen Moriarty, and I'm the Executive Director at Hunger Solutions, Minnesota. I'm here today to really share with you the enthusiasm and the commitment that we have both in the corporate community and in the nonprofit community, along with activists, to really bring free meals to the state of Minnesota. We have for years worked hand in hand with Legal Aid and others, many of you, on preventing lunch shaming. That is one of the things that having universal meals addresses right off the bat. there is not lunch shaming. Everyone would be entitled to the same meal. That coupled with the fact that we are joining many states around the country who are considering the same type of legislation because of the benefit of having all children be available to have nutrition in their day, and the results that are accrued from that for academic success. I represented the state of Minnesota at the White House's Conference on Hunger and Nutrition earlier this year, and there was no proposal that was met with more enthusiasm in hunger relief than free meals at school. Every time it was mentioned, the room kind of exploded with people who were working on that. When this is passed in the state of Minnesota, we will join other states like Vermont and California. There's efforts going on in South Dakota, in Wisconsin, in Minnesota. There are 11 states that are currently considering it. The reason it works is that it simplifies the program, it eliminates paperwork, it brings an equity lens to the available to school nutrition, and it brings us in step with others who consider food a human right. We don't charge children to take the bus. We don't charge them for a lot of things that are considered part of their school day, and this is an important part of their school day. So we have been working on this literally for years. I've been the director at Hunger Solutions for 18 years, and I can't remember a time when we weren't considering the fact that this is really what we needed to do in the state of Minnesota to bring equity and to help us close the achievement gap. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Moriarty, and for all the work that you've done in the past for this. Next, we have Dr.
Madam
Sarah,
Chair.
pardon me, question, Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would you prefer to go through all the testifiers, let them do their testimony, and then we come to questions after that, or?
If it's specific to this person, then go ahead and ask that question. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess I'll speak a little bit about something that I have a concern with in this program, and it's something that Ms. Moriarty spoke to in regards to the lunch shaming. But as I've talked to a number of folks at our schools, right now they have the regular lunch line and then they have an a la carte line. And that a la carte line really helps pay because they make money on that. And, there's the concern over, well, is that line going to stay or not? And most of them believe that line is going to stay. So I guess, would we still not potentially have, that disparity? Some kids are going to be able to afford to go to the a la carte line, some wouldn't. I mean, I guess, would it be the intention that that would go away under something like this and schools would just offer one meal or like two meals for all students?
Ms. Moriarty.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator, I can tell you that the way that this has worked in other states is that you are guaranteed one meal, that everyone is guaranteed the same meal. The question of a la carte is not covered under this program. There would still be availability, I assume, of a la carte meals, of a la carte things for kids to choose and have in their account. But that in many states it is handled that if you have the money in your account and you want an a la carte item, then that's fine. So I don't think that really it doesn't really move forward on assuring that everything in the school cafeteria is free. What it does is assure that there is one meal for every child.
Follow up? Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just throwing this comment out there, and if you would like to comment, that's fine. It's not necessarily a question, but I guess from the school district I just came from, being on the school board, the subject of lunch shaming is a little peculiar to me because our students, whether or not you were on free and reduced lunch, you still had the same card and you still went through the same line, and I'm not sure how the students would necessarily know who was on the free and reduced lunch program at the point of sale or at the point of transaction. So I don't know what other school districts do, and so I'm just throwing that out there, and if you have any thoughts on that, feel free to comment. Thanks.
Ms. Moriarty.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator, the lunch shaming issue comes when there is payment for the meal at the end, and your account reflects the fact that you are in arrears in some way. There is lunch shaming in the state of Minnesota. Legal Aid just completed a report that lists the districts around the state where lunch shaming is alive and well. And that includes things like having your lunch dumped or having a sticker put on, a stamp on your hand that reminding you to bring money. Nobody wants to do that. There isn't, human beings just, they don't want, nobody in the lunchroom wants to do that. That's not why they're there. They're there to provide a nutritious meal for kids. They don't want to punish kids. But there has been pressure on the nutrition departments in school districts around the state and around the country to be able to be self-sufficient. With that comes a fiscal responsibility. That means that they have engaged in things like collections in the past. By passing this bill, we eliminate that, with the exception of the fact that those who want a la carte meals, if they have the money, can get it. That's simply the answer to that.
A follow-up, Senator Crewin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the answer, and I'm not disputing that there is lunch shaming going on in certain districts around the state. I guess the point I'm making, and I have a completely open mind to this, I'm just trying to understand, because there are, I believe, districts that don't do lunch shaming. There are ways to get around that. And so the question, I guess, from a policy standpoint for us is, do we want to tackle those things rather than make lunch free for everybody? And that's an open question, and reasonable people can be on both sides of that. But I would say, like, on the collections point, I totally get that. Most school boards don't want to be in the business of being in collections. But we, in our school board, made that always communications between the parents and the school, and we really tried not to bring the students into that equation. So I just wanted to throw that out there. There are ways that school districts can get around lunch shaming under the current system, and but I understand not all districts are the same. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Ms. Moriarty.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator, two things. First of all, I congratulate your district on being able to discern the difference between a transaction of a child for a meal and the availability for funds from their parents to the school. When there is a significant lunch debt, though, in many districts, it is passed on to the general fund to settle. And that is different than having a surplus, for instance, in the nutrition department that stays with the nutrition department. I think that is a significant burden for many, many schools around the state of Minnesota. So having universal meals is one thing that keeps that from becoming a burden. It doesn't keep it from ever happening, but it keeps that from being a burden to the general fund of the schools, which I think is very important. Secondly, that we have passed legislation twice on lunch shaming, and it's still going on.
Yep.
So it is a failed strategy. It is not a strategy that is supportive of the schools. It is not a strategy that's supportive of the families. And we know how to do this program because we did it for 2 years during COVID. So we have experience at this, and we know it works. And we want to make sure that every child is available to have the same meal that's guaranteed to them. Not that they get to the end of the line and find out they're in arrears and have a cheese sandwich that they have to take back to the lunch table when everyone else is having lunch. That is the way that becomes a burden to the child. And I think the most important thing that I've learned in the last several years is that the incidences of lunch shaming are not secret anymore, because the students in the school pull up a phone and start to video what's going on. And it happened last year, or before COVID. So I think that we can eliminate that problem. We can support the nutrition department. We can support the professionals that work there. We can give them the honor of not having to be involved in this transaction at all.
Follow-up, Mr. Senator Crewin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a real quick follow-up. Yeah, obviously, recording people getting something less, that's obviously not okay. And I think we could all agree that on that point. And then the last comment, I fully agree that I think school districts want to get out of the collection business. My sense is that nobody wants to do that on the school board. They don't really view that as an enjoyable thing or something directly within their purview, and they want to get on to other things. So I'm just throwing some of these comments out there just for consideration, and I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moriarty. Senator, you wanted to make a response.
I just wanted to add on to what you're saying, in that sometimes it goes beyond the lunchroom. So there are students who aren't able to walk through graduation ceremony because they have a lunch debt. And so we're really talking about a situation where students aren't able to participate fully in their schools simply because their family can't afford to buy lunch. And I hear what you're saying about, like, shouldn't we clean up the lunch shaming laws? I totally agree with that. But I think this sort of does that because it just eliminates that problem as well. So I just wanted to add that it's kind of a complicated issue.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much, Ms. Moriarty. And we are going to move on to Dr. Sarah Jerstad. Please take a seat and state your full name for the record, and you may begin.
Madam Chair, committee members, my name is Dr. Sarah Jerstad. I am a psychologist and medical director of our outpatient mental health services at Children's Minnesota. Thank you for having me here today to express Children's Minnesota's support of Senate File 123, which provides no-cost breakfast and lunch to all students. Thank you. Children's Minnesota is the largest pediatric health system in the state, and we serve more than 166,000 kids annually. We serve an incredibly diverse patient population that includes kids from all 87 counties in Minnesota and 60% of the counties in surrounding states. Almost half the kids we see in our hospitals and clinics are enrolled in medical assistance. So I'm here today because proper nutrition is fundamental to every aspect of a child's health and well-being, including their mental health. Food insecurity can impact children's mental health and behavioral health at all developmental stages. So in preschoolers, this can look like increased behavioral challenges, aggressive behavior, and anxious or depressed moods. When you move to school-age kids, the impact is similar, with food insecurity being associated with anxiety, depression, inattention, hyperactivity, and challenges with social skills. Adolescents experiencing food insecurity are also more likely to experience anxiety and depression, as well as suicidal ideation and substance use disorders. One of the challenges is the social stigma and stress with food insecurity. This can really contribute to kids' mental health struggles. Not only the shame that they might feel when they compare themselves to other kids, but the stress of knowing that a deficit in their school meal account could add to their family's financial burden. This is really significantly difficult for kids. My colleagues and I have seen kids' mental health reach a point of crisis. In 2021, for the first time at Children's Minnesota, suicidal ideation was one of our top 5 diagnoses. We're continuing to work to meet the needs of kids and families by expanding our continuum of mental health care beyond our outpatient services to include inpatient mental health programming and partial hospitalization programming. But we can't do this work alone. The mental health support we provide to kids and families is limited if their social needs, like access to nutritious foods, are not being met. A key component of ending the mental health crisis facing Minnesota children is to invest in the foundational things that kids need for optimal health, reducing the need for more costly health care and education interventions. This bill does that by ensuring kids have access to food, and food that will fuel their cognitive development, their physical growth, support their mental and emotional health, and limit social stigma. These are elements that are essential to kids' academic success and ability to achieve their highest potential. So thank you, Senator Gustafson, for your leadership on this bill.
Thank you, Dr. Jerstad. Any questions for the testifier? All right. Well, then we will switch over. Thank you so much for coming in and testifying on this issue. We will switch over to Amber Lightfeather, who is going to come in remotely from Duluth. Are you there, Ms. Lightfeather?
Good morning. I am here. Thank you for having me.
Yep, would you please introduce yourself with your full name, and then you may begin your testimony.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amber Lightfeather, and I have 4 kids currently in the public schools. I did have 5 in the schools here in Duluth. And you brought up the lunch shaming. That is a big deal, and it did happen to my oldest child. At the time, the school was giving cheese sandwiches and milk if you were even a week late paying for lunches. And my child was given a cheese sandwich and milk, and I was sent a letter that said if I didn't pay it by the next week, that they would be calling social services and turning me in for neglect, in which I just hadn't gotten paid yet. I couldn't pay it. Now that I've got so many kids in school, it adds up really quick, and with inflation, it's obscene. It's $270 a day for the elementary schools, and the middle and high school is $295 a day. That is just for lunch. Luckily, our school district has free breakfast. I don't have to worry about that, at least not right now. With the lunch for all 4 of my kids, it's $57.75 a week, and that equates to $231 a month if you times that by 4 weeks. If you did include the breakfast, it would go up to $328 a month, which is really a lot for us right now with our money being stretched so tight, because I make too much to qualify for many programs. So I don't have any additional help. It's just my income that is paying for that. So this would alleviate the people like me that are in between. Hey, I wish I could qualify for help because I just don't have enough to stretch that money. And my kids he wouldn't have to worry about, well, Mom, if I eat breakfast every morning, is that going to cost us more money? Well, right now they don't, but I'm assuming that it's going to come back at some point if we don't pass some kind of legislation or help for the schools to be able to continue to give free breakfast to everybody. So I grew up very poor, and my father was mentally ill, so we never had our paperwork done. We would have qualified for free breakfast and lunch, but he wasn't able to do that. So we all starved during the day. So this has been an ongoing problem in my family, and I'm sure many, many other families. So I think Minnesota could be on the forefront of this and really make a big difference in these kids' lives. If they're hungry at school, they're not doing as well as they could be doing. I know that for a fact because I was one of those kids. So I appreciate your time here, and thank you so much for considering this bill.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lightfeather, for taking the time to share your story and support this legislation. Thanks so much. Any questions for Ms. Lightfeather? Nope. All right, then we will move on to Mandy Zhang. Are you here? Here she is. Okay. If you would like to take a seat, state your full name for the record, and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Mandy Jung, and I'm a member of St. Paul Federation of Educators, and I was invited to speak with you today on behalf of Hunger Free Schools because I'm a 7th grade science teacher as well as being a TikTok content creator. On my platform, I talk about issues facing public school educators, and one thing that I spend a lot of time talking about is the need for universal free lunch in the United States. I'm honored to be here today. On the first day of school this year, I announced to my students that school lunches were no longer free. This moment stays with me. The confusion, the darting eyes, the urgent questions. Some students realized in that moment that they were not going to eat that day. It has been a very difficult school year. We have had an increase in challenging student behaviors, and no doubt that's related to the trauma of the last few years. But I also have to think that part of it is that they're hungry. It's hard to pay attention when your stomach is growling. It's hard to be kind to others when you are hungry. It's hard to do your best when you don't feel your best. So, like I said, I teach middle school. And for middle schoolers, their prefrontal cortex is developing really quickly right now. And that is the social part of the brain, that's the decision-making part of the brain. And in middle school, that's when you start to figure out how the world works. So I'd like you to put yourself in the shoes of a 7th grader for a moment. I know that might be traumatic for some of you. So maybe you're in the lunch line and you get up to the cafeteria worker and they tell you you don't have any money in your account. So you might worry about who overheard that conversation or what the cafeteria worker thinks of you and your family. And if your family can't put any money in your account, you are starting to notice the stress and the embarrassment and maybe even the fear in your caregivers' faces when they receive emails and letters and phone calls notifying them of your negative account balance. So maybe then, at 12 years old, you make the decision to just avoid those negative feelings by not getting in the lunch line anymore. And that burden is too great for a child to bear. The simplest solution is to just feed the kids. I spoke before the Education Policy Committee a few weeks ago, and I heard former educators speak in opposition to this bill, and I was shocked. If you've worked in a school, then you've seen the impacts of child hunger firsthand. You might have even spent your own money feeding children. I do every day. It was shocking to me that any educator would oppose this bill. What the opposing representatives kept saying was that parents should be responsible for feeding their children. But should is a funny thing. In her book, The Blind Assassin, Margaret Atwood says, should is a futile word. It is about what didn't happen. It belongs in a parallel universe. It belongs in a different dimension of space. I agree with Margaret Atwood. The word should absolves us from responsibility. It pushes the problem elsewhere. These are adult problems that have real and lasting impacts on children. It is wrong to punish children for adult problems. In the end, I simply have to ask, what would you rather we spend our tax money on? We have a moral imperative as a society to take care of our most vulnerable community members. And sometimes that shows up as a carton of chocolate milk, a handful of baby carrots, and a grilled cheese sandwich. I love my students. I believe in them, and I know that you believe in them too. I'm inviting you to show that by ensuring that they are fed at school. Thank you for your time and your consideration of this important issue. This legislation will make a difference in my students' lives and in the lives of students all across Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jung. Any questions for Senator Uwamu-Verbatim?
Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jung. As soon as you walked up here, I was like, is that the woman from TikTok?
Let the record state that I laughed maniacally.
So I'm glad you addressed that. I just want to thank you for your work for highlighting this issue. And I'm already connecting the dots from the testimony we heard with your bill, Senator Swedzinski, menstrual equity, and just our students carrying the shame. I'm connecting it to the testimony we heard from our students in one of our first days in committee about just the mental health concerns and all that they're dealing with at school. And what you said around it's wrong to punish children for adult problems, I couldn't agree more. Our kids just can't learn when they're hungry, and we need to provide this and ensure that they can just go to school and learn.
Thank you, Senator. Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I had the same reaction as Senator Uwamu-Verbatim. And I was like, oh my God, follow her on TikTok. And I just want to thank you for coming and sharing your experience and advocating for your students. I think one of the things that as adults that we forget is that we know when we're hungry, right? We get things like hangry and we know, but a lot of young people don't know when they're hungry. They know they're tired. They know it doesn't feel good. But I've had friends of mine who are like, I was hungry in school, but I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so that's why we see these educators sitting before us, because we need them to advocate for their students. Go.
And I'll just finish up with, for Senator McQuaid, as a teacher myself, the stories that you shared with us are so very, very real and vivid in my own memory, and I do appreciate your dedication to your students. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Next, we have Darcy Stuber. Please remember to state your full name, and then you may proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I'm Darcy Stieber, Director of Nutrition Services for the Mankato Area Public Schools. I also serve as Public Policy Chair for the Minnesota School Nutrition Association. I am here to offer MSNA support for a universal lunch and bill program as found in Senate File 123, as amended. In September 2022, students returned back to school and families were surprised to learn that meals would no longer be served to all students at no charge. This caused a flurry of applications for educational benefits to flood nutrition service departments across the state. Unfortunately, many families' income was just over the threshold to qualify for free and reduced meals. Passing Senate File 123 would allow us to continue to serve meals to all students at no charge. Most families that do not qualify for free and reduced meals are not wealthy. They are families that fundraise for their kids' extracurricular activities and carefully watch their families' budgets that are being affected by inflation. By making meals available to all students, students can breathe a sigh of relief knowing that their meal debt balance is no longer an issue. They can simply come to school, learn, receive a nutritious meal along the way, and their families can put these dollars into the many bills that pile up on their kitchen table, like rent, gas, and utilities. Currently, students do not worry about access to books, iPads, Chromebooks, or transportation to school. Why would we not provide a basic human need as a meal for our students? Eating at school improves academic performance and improves a sense of community. Lunch is a time to relax, refuel, and enjoy a break from the classroom. When students are well nourished, they are able to focus on their schoolwork. Students that regularly eat school lunch receive better nutrition than most students that bring lunch from home. School meals are well-rounded by providing lean proteins, whole grains, and a variety of fruits and vegetables and milk. As a nutrition director, I started working in school nutrition because I was a student on free and reduced meals. I wanted to serve the next generation healthy meals as I had received many years ago. School nutrition directors and staff did not enter child nutrition to be debt collectors, nor did we enter this line of work to create anxiety amongst kids about where their next meal may come from. I know many of you live in multiple worlds, balancing many interests, but we in school nutrition live in the cafeteria for one reason: to feed kids. After serving students free breakfast and lunch for the last 2.5 years, it is time that Minnesota steps forward as a leader in our nation and continues to serve free meals to all students. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Any questions, members? Nope, seeing none. Thank you again for coming in today, but most of all, thank you for feeding our children.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, we have one more testifier, Wansur Mungru. Here she is. Thank you. Please state your full name for the record, and then you may begin your testimony.
Hello, my name is Wansur Mungru. I'm an 11th grade student from White Bear Lake, and I'm one of the many White Bear Lake students who feel very strongly on this topic, just because it is so crucial in other subjects that follow the result of the pandemic and other crises such as those. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to speak here. Thank you very much. It's a great opportunity and a great chance to understand the big reality of this, and so are the perspectives on it. And thank you for your district and transaction and availability. That's amazing. I was on the phone with Ms. Gardner about this topic, and I was really excited to get touch base on this. And she touched on the topic of the progress of legislative steps for the crucial topic of food in Minnesotan schools, districts, and she acknowledged the fact that you guys are close to administering universal lunch, and that sounds amazing with the right bipartisan support. It will supply schools with everything they need, and that sounds amazing. But this, I'll go over 3 topics in this short amount of time that I have, which is targeted and temporary, meal coverage description, and experience, right? So because this is such a crucial topic, as I stated before, it needs specificity, And that's why it can't be targeted and temporary, because this is a reality for many students in school, and selective supplementation never works in instances like this whatsoever. It doesn't. Because if we're going to be selective and see if it is for all and if it can qualify for all, then what is all this for? Truly. Nothing. So, that's why we're having these conversations today, to fix it and get to the bottom core of it. Which means it's way more than if you qualify, you're on, and if you're not, you're off. And every child is not able to, carry that burden of that balance. And in a broad perspective, whether or not students qualified for free and reduced lunch, the program had more than 26 million free meals served every school day, and that is a lot of meals for every student. And then now that we don't have free lunch, if it's accessible for all, then we have to go in the chronological order of applying for meal coverage and facing who fits the income requirement, which technifies an issue that has a big, complex background. People who are slightly overarching that economic requirement is very technical in that sense, which makes it harder to understand and be conscious of what might be the situationships and circumstances in a given household. And that's if we want to make this a more equitable, space for these outskirts of schooling in terms of food. If we want to make this a more equitable time and space for children, we need to understand the realities they may be facing at home as well, especially after the pandemic that is still elongated in many different viruses and all that type of stuff. Food insecurity for certain school districts can elongate the time it takes for a student to get rid of a negative balance in their account, which is very unfortunate. But what is very unfortunate is that many people might not be able to qualify depending on the economic requirement, which is why people are dealing with negative balance accounts in school, which technifies, as I said again, the economic requirement for many students. For me, this hits hard in a way that inspires me to want to talk to you more. Because for me, I want to go to college and major in food insecurity and public health. And this hits hard not only for me as a student, but I have counterparts that are going through this or have gone through it. And they talk about how it is not as easy and then going through the motions of everything with their account. So it's like we need to understand the bigger perspective and realities of some students taking away money from groceries and gas to fulfill a negative balance account. Because say we have a single mother who has been supplying her child since kindergarten or has been knowing since her child was in kindergarten that he was on free and reduced lunch, and now that's stopped. He's an 11th grader, or an 11-year-old and still in school, and it's taken off. Now she can't put 50 because that's going to wipe away in 2 weeks, 2 days? She puts 118 a month. You times that by 9, how many times they're in school? That's $1,000 a year. Taken away from groceries and gas. And she's a single mother though, but she has to supply all of that. And I like the points that were brought up, which were how we need to be able to understand what we're charging our students for. We're not charged for buses or anything like that, but for food. For me, the deprivation of students and secondhand embarrassment has something, I've never seen it personally, but I do know that it might still occur at my school. When it happens, sometimes the lunch lady will tell you, hey, you have a negative balance, you need to get it. They'll let you know over a certain amount of time. They'll keep on reminding you because it is necessary to know that you have a negative balance account, because the more it's negative, that's a lot you have to pay. And that is not what we're straying away from, but it's just the fact that we have to have that acknowledged in a moment where it's supposed to be the time of our day. We shouldn't have to worry about something like that at all. It's lunchtime. So I just feel like that should be, something we're conscious of. And I think it was just a surprise to many people to have that letter in the mail, especially for my district, 64, seeing that free lunch was not going to be supplied this year. So for each and every person, it might not be qualifiable for all people. So it was a big surprise. And truly, how can students learn without food was another good thing that I heard. They can't. It's very simple. It's very simple. They can't. And one thing that I don't want it to boil down to is that students know the complexity of the situation, because we're not dumb, and they choose not to eat. And that's the last thing we want. avoidance because of the complexity of the situation. I feel like on a roll of making this these outskirts of schooling a more equitable space, we need to be able to be conscious of the situationships and circumstances in a given household. We really never know, and people who might be slightly overarching the income requirement, might need it as much as the people who do qualify. I appreciate the time that you guys have given me to talk to you about this important subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mungru, for coming here this morning and sharing your thoughts and really, again, advocating for your fellow students. Your eloquence and your dedication to the cause is very much appreciated. Thank you. We don't have any more testifiers, but I do see Mr. Corte up there. Did you want to make a comment or respond to anything?
Madam Chair, thank you. Yes, just a few comments about the bill, if I may. I just wanted to support a lot of what has already been said about the benefits of this bill. As you saw yesterday in the rollout of the governor and lieutenant governor's budget, this is a priority for the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the administration. It's included in their budget. I think what we have seen and the reason why this is so important to our administration is that students are currently falling through the cracks. One of the things that we've heard about this bill is, aren't we already feeding the kids that need help? And the reality is that in Minnesota, we're fortunate enough that we fund reduced price lunches at the free rate. We cover as a state the difference between the free and the reduced rate. But that cutoff is at $51,000 for a family of four. So if you are just one hair over that, $100 over that, $1,000 over that, this isn't like a tax credit that phases out. It gets cut off immediately at that. And as we've all heard from other testifiers, that can have impacts of hundreds of dollars a week and over thousands of dollars in a year. The other reason that we think this bill is a priority is that we know that using free and reduced price lunch forms as a way to calculate who's eligible and who's not isn't a perfect formula. It's not something that captures everybody who's eligible. We know that there's families that choose not to fill out the forms. Some just because they're sturdy Midwesterners, they're too proud and don't want to fill out those forms, and some because families who may be new to country are concerned about what the impacts of their immigration status might be. As we mentioned earlier, just on a technical couple pieces of the bill, it creates two paths to funding. One is in order to maximize federal funding. Those who are eligible for full federal funding under the community eligibility provision are required to take that path. For everyone else, they must access the free school meals proposal. Also wanted to address a couple of concerns that I think we've been hearing from the field, and I'm sure that you have been as well. Just want to acknowledge that we're working on these things. One is around whether the full federal reimbursement, as it's written in this bill, will be sufficient to cover the costs of the meals that schools are or will be providing under this. We think that it will be. The way that the bill is written is that it adjusts with when the USDA makes changes to their calculations of what it costs to run these programs. The full reimbursement amount isn't just for the food costs, it's for administration, it's for staffing, it's for facilities, it's for equipment. So if the USDA makes an adjustment to that, we at MDE will also make an adjustment and increase the funding that flows out to schools. And USDA has been really good about this in the recent history, just knowing the increased costs of meals and school supply supply chain issues. So we think that the way the bill is written will ensure full compensation, but we continue to work with our school and community partners on that. The other piece was around timing. I know that there was some difference in different versions of the fiscal note and change items that you may have seen, but it is essential if we want to get this up and running for next school year that we get this bill passed as early as possible and get funding flowing to us at MDE to start implementing this program so we can update our systems, our computer systems, that schools can work with their vendors to update their systems, and we can provide training to the field so that when we start next school year, we can have this program in full swing. And the last piece I wanted to talk about was compensatory revenue. I'm sure you've been hearing about this from our school partners. If we do free school meals and families aren't filling out the free and reduced forms anymore, is that going to result in reduced funding to our schools through compensatory revenue? This is certainly something that's on our radar. It's something that we are working on. Our school finance staff have come up with a number of different options that they have been working with House and Senate nonpartisan research staff on. And I'm sorry I don't have a final kind of solution for you that we've come up with to share, but just be aware that we are working on it, and we hope to have something that we'll be ready to share with the public here soon. So with that, I will conclude my testimony and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Corte. Senator Rarick, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess first question I'd like to ask is, what is the intention? Are we laying this bill over, or are we passing this as a standalone?
We are passing this as a standalone. It'll go to finance next.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess a couple of comments, and I appreciate, Mr. Corte, that what you just talked about is my biggest concern, especially with this as a standalone. We do have a lot of issues in regards to the other compensatories that rely on the free and reduced lunch numbers. And that is what I've heard from my school districts repeatedly. Between that and what happens with the a la carte line, I just think this, if we're going down this road, this has to be part of a package that we talk about reforms and changing everything. Because if we change this without figuring out those compensatories, we have a lot of schools that could lose a lot of funding in other areas. And I don't think that's the intent of any of this. You know, I'm still struggling to decide if I support this completely or not. I really, and unfortunately she's not here anymore, Ms. Jung, I did appreciate her comments about should. And I realize there are a lot of folks that do not follow through. The thing is, the vast majority of parents do follow through, and they do pay for their kids' lunches. And I've heard from many that say, I'm okay paying for my students' lunch. So I guess as I look at this and we talk about those that are on that fine line, I would say, what are things we can potentially do to help out in those situations instead of just taking this step? Because when I look at the numbers on this, I think that's a lot that we could do to help eliminate the special education cross subsidy, a lot of other things that we could do. So I guess I cannot support this as a standalone. I believe this has to be part of a broad discussion of changes that have to happen or that could happen in the whole realm of the education, finance, and how we fund our schools. So thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Senator Gustafson, for bringing this so we can start talking about it.
Any response to that, Mr. Corte?
Madam Chair, just to the last piece about, as we were thinking about this bill, putting it together, we did consider having a different income threshold where it was cut off. You know, we kind of call it a means testing program. But at the end of the day, it really would have increased the administrative complexity of the program, both at the MDE side as well as at the local side, and the increased costs that would have come along with that complexity then eats into whatever savings that you might see as a result of this. So I think the recommendation from our staff and the professionals at MDE was to keep the system as simple as possible, and just have free meals for all who are eligible, but certainly appreciate the concept. It is something that we have considered.
Thank you, Senator, Mr. Corte. Senator Umu-Verbaden, you had a comment or question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Would it be appropriate to also refer to that administrative work as paperwork? That's all I want to say.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that is why I struggle with this, because that is exactly it. I do not want to create more issues. I am in favor of simplifying things, so that is part of the reason I struggle to determine whether I support or not.
Thank you. Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a whole bunch of thoughts written down, so this may take a while.
Could I just also remind you, we have one more bill to get through today?
Yes.
And so we should be wrapping this up pretty quickly.
I will highlight the key ones then. So the first thing I want to mention is, so we were talking about the compensatory funding that could be affected. So here's an idea. Let's just take all of the compensatory funding and put it on the formula and get rid of all of that paperwork, and then every school will get the same amount. You know, if if we're looking at rebuilding the system, because this is going to have such an impact, as you've heard me talk about wanting to get rid of all these grants and just put it on the formula to I guess, equitable, or equity is the word these days, to make it more equitable in funding. In regards to this specific bill, like Senator Gustafson, I have 4 children. And so I quickly did the math on what it costs per year. So this is going to basically equal a $2,000 a year tax cut for my family. But the reality is, my family doesn't need it. Well, I took a huge pay cut to become a state senator, so maybe we will need it now. But we don't need it. And my job is to feed my children. And so I have a hard time supporting this when I know that millionaires on Lake Minnetonka are going to be getting free lunch for their kids. I think that, you know, the free and reduced lunch system is designed to help those that are most needy, and I think that's a noble plan. And if we have a problem with the $50,100 threshold, maybe we should have a discussion about that. But as this stands, I can't afford, or I just don't know that I can support giving a tax cut to some millionaires, paying for their kids' lunch. I struggle with that. So, and then as far as the last thing.
If I could, is it okay for me to address that first? Is that all right?
Are you okay, Senator?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead, Senator.
I just know that you've mentioned several questions, so I didn't want to forget all of them, if that's okay. If it helps, a lot of us are uncomfortable with millionaires and billionaires getting a Social Security tax cut too, but you support that. I support that. I chief authored that on the first day. We're okay with some people getting 100% reductions across the board, but we're not for kids in schools. I agree. I might not need that tax cut right now, but I sure would. It'd be helpful. And we don't make kids pay for a desk. You may be able to afford a desk for your kid, but we wouldn't make them do that because it isn't the way that we would like to set up schools. So I hear your concerns, and I've heard that from several people, but I think some policies are just the right thing to do, if that answers your question.
Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily satisfy my concern. Yes, I do support eliminating the tax on our senior Social Security completely. And then the other thing is, I think the lunch shaming, as I think it was Senator Kroon mentioned, in my district, the kids just punch in their number. Nobody knows. Lunch shaming has been dealt with. The Attorney General has sent out guidance, telling school districts not to do this. So if that's the concern, we should deal with that concern, because we don't want to shame kids. But as a parent, if I'm not paying my bills, maybe I should have a little bit of shame. Farnsworth, you racked up this bill. You need to pay the bill that you owe. So I think, I've never witnessed lunch shaming. That doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. But if that's the real problem, I think we need to address that specifically, rather than using free lunches to try and stop lunch shaming. So I think that's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Senator Farnsworth. Next, we have Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson, for bringing this forward. I have 5 very, very quick comments. One, I don't remember, I appreciate Hunger Free Schools providing us with this letter in here, because I really don't remember the 3rd largest and 14th largest corporation in the state of Minnesota, Cargill and General Mills, being on some of our handouts as supporting a bill such as something that might benefit our kids. You got me thinking, Senator Rarick, about a la carte, because I think a lot of schools do make money on the a la carte program. But if you look at most schools, and the a la carte options aren't the healthiest options. It's French fries, it's what kids want to eat. And I'm not sure if we should even, if the a la carte items, which they are profit-making for the schools, and we provide a healthier, free option, maybe part of the educational program will end up teaching kids how to eat more healthily than maybe you or I have. And then thirdly, I would encourage all the members of the committee to go to the legal aid website and take a look at the problematic district policies posted on public school district websites. And there's a list of 120 schools who have policies that suggest meal refusal, potential alternate meals, or other shaming practices. I'm shocked by the number of schools that I thought we got rid of lunch shaming years ago. I had no idea that it was still going on in Minnesota. Number 4, I appreciate, and you had suggested this, that again, another idea, an unintended consequence of this might be getting rid of some paperwork. And if all of a sudden districts have less paperwork, that means maybe they can not let go, but they won't need one, they'll need one less administrator in order to make that paperwork work, and then we can put that money into the classroom instead of the administration. And fifthly, and most importantly, and I appreciate the senator to my right comments about menstrual equity, because my takeaway today is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The most basic thing in order for children to become self-actualized is their physiological needs are being met. And if we can provide their physiological needs of menstruation and hunger and get those 2 things out of the way out of this session, maybe we'll start realizing, wow, all the attempts over the last few years of trying to reading programs and all the ELL and special ed programs and all that, and maybe we'll find out, maybe, just maybe, they were just a little bit hungry or worried about where they were going to get their period products. And if we can take care of those 2 fundamental things, who knows the possibilities that might come out of this legislation this session. Thank you, Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Senator Swedzinski. Senator Lucero, and then we're going to move on to our next bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to raise my hand just to remind the body that and I hope, Madam Chair, you would agree that when there are varying viewpoints on these issues and we're having healthy conversations with a diversity, again, of thought, and when the minority is expressing viewpoints in perhaps an ordered list like we just heard here, 5 ordered lists, it's not the prerogative of the majority to just interrupt and disturb the flow of thought when somebody's making an articulation. So it was just annoying to me when that happened here a few minutes ago. Then in regards to this, I don't recall menstrual products being brought up this morning, but since they were, to remind the body, that conversation was about the inability at the time to acknowledge that boys don't menstruate.
All right, so with that, Senator Gustafson, do you have any final comments?
I would just ask for your support on this bill. Again, it passed unanimously in education policy. This bill will directly put money back in the pockets of the families that we promised to do that for. It benefits children with their mental health, with their basic needs, and it's, I think that is what, at the core of it, we can all agree that that is something that we can unite around. Thank you.
Okay. Senator, would you please make the motion to move this bill to finance?
Yes, I make the motion to move this bill to finance.
And with that, Senator Gustafson renews her motion to move Senate File 123 as amended to the Finance Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have to vote. Oh, excuse me, we have to vote. I always forget this part. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the bill as amended is adopted, and it will be moving its way to finance. Thank you again. All right, moving on, we have Senate File 69 in front of us, and the author, Senator Mann. Thank you so much for joining us. Senator Mann, you don't have any amendments, do you? Okay, great. So would you please, let's see, Senator Verbatim, would you please make a motion to move Senate File 69 before the committee to lay it over for possible inclusion in our omnibus bill?
Madam Chair, yes, so moved.
Thank you. Senator Mann, welcome to our committee, and you may proceed by briefly explaining your bill, and then we will hear from our testifiers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Senate File 69 is a bill that deals with equitable access to the classroom and to an education in Minnesota. We know that Minnesota has some of the worst achievement gaps in the country. And this bill will begin to tackle that gap by keeping kids in the classroom, because we cannot close that education gap when our children of color are not in school. When it comes to suspensions, 11.6% of all students in the classroom identify as Black, but they make up 44.8% of all students suspended. 1.7% of students identify as Indigenous, but they make up 5.1% of children suspended, while white children make up 64% of the students, but only account for 30% of suspensions. Nationally, Black kids are 3 times more likely to be expelled or suspended when compared to their white counterparts. However, in Minnesota, they are 8 times more likely to be expelled or suspended. Nationally, Indigenous kids are 5 times more likely to be expelled or suspended. However, in Minnesota, they are 10 times more likely to be expelled or suspended when compared to white students. We also know that children with disabilities are 2 times more likely to be suspended or expelled when compared with children without disabilities. So if we really wish to make an impact on education equity in Minnesota, we need to keep our youngest learners in school. In this bill, we are asking that suspension be used only as a last resort, and that the reasons for suspension be objective and not subjective. I also want to be clear that we are talking about our youngest learners in this bill, K through 3rd grade, so we're talking about 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. Suspending a 7-year-old because they yelled back at a teacher in a moment of anger or panic or confusion or being overwhelmed does absolutely nothing for that child. And we also need to keep in mind that behavior is communication. Children in Minnesota have a constitutional right to an education, and our youngest learners are being denied that right when they are removed from the classroom. And the fact that our children of color are being denied that right at significantly higher rates than other children makes this a statewide problem that requires intervention. With that, Madam Chair, you can move to testifiers.
Thank you so much, Senator Mann. Our testifier list, let's begin with Adosh Udi. Please state your full name for the record, and you may begin.
Madam Chair, committee members, my name is Adosh Udi. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Minnesota Department of Education, and I truly appreciate the committee's flexibility in allowing me to testify with the compressed schedule. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity to testify on this bill, which prohibits the suspensions of students in kindergarten through grade 3, building upon existing prohibition on suspensions of pre-kindergarten students. And I want to thank Senator Mann for leading on this effort here in the Senate. Unfortunately, Minnesota ranks very poorly when it comes to racial disparities in many categories. Punitive discipline practices rely on the belief that exclusion, when used as a consequence, teaches a student to perceive as necessary to maintaining a safe, orderly learning environment. This belief leads to a significant underinvestment in proactive supports necessary to promote students' social emotional development and mental health and implement alternatives to suspension. The American Psychological Association Zero Tolerance Task Force found no systemic evidence that a suspension accomplishes these goals. As I mentioned before, Minnesota has some of the worst discipline disparities in the nation. Despite no correlation with improved student outcomes or school climate ratings, close to 20,000 students, K through 12 students in Minnesota received 1 or more out-of-school suspensions during the 2018-19 school year. In the same year, there were close to over 5,700 reported suspensions, expulsions, or exclusions for grades K through 3. And I'm using those figures from 2018-19 because some of the figures changed because of in-person, hybrid, and distance learning over the past few years in 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's just one example of the disparities. In the 2018-19 school year, 12.8% of Minnesota kindergarten through grade 12 students identified as Black or African American, so that's 11.2%. In the same year, 44.2% of kindergarten expulsions were for Black or African American students. It was 46.3% for first grade, 50% for second grade, and 44.8% for third grade. We know that there are unintended negative consequences of exclusionary discipline practices such as suspension. Students who are suspended consistently hear messaging that they are not welcomed or valued in the school community. These students have diminished perceptions of school climate, are shown to have less positive relationships with staff and peers, and diminished levels of trust. Meanwhile, they are more likely to exhibit antisocial behavior, experience academic difficulty, drop out, receive an arrest, and experience incarceration. Students who experience suspension and expulsion are even at increased risk for long-term physical and mental health issues. Madam Chair and committee members, we should be moving toward less reliance on suspension as a disciplinary tool and more toward the non-exclusionary discipline practices that keep the child in the educational setting, and like the governor has proposed in the past and will be proposing this year. Again, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Uni. Next, we have Tanya Drawn, who is coming to us remotely. Tanya, if you'd like to turn on your camera, and please state your full name for the record, and you may begin your testimony.
Hello, my name is Tanya Drawn. I am a mother, and thank you for letting me be here, Chair and Education and Finance Committee. Always happy to kind of lend my story to views. And sorry for the background, I have kids here this morning. I wanted to just let you know a little bit about my story. I have 6 kids. I was just thinking about when in my life was I not surrounded by kids, and I don't think there's ever been a time. I come from a large family. We're all born and raised in Minnesota. I have 6 kids, and I have a variety of education stories, as you can imagine. The story that brings me here today is a story of suspensions for my middle son. My middle son started getting suspended in kindergarten and got suspended almost every year of his life until he dropped out of school at age 15. When you think about the statistics and the things that happen to kids that drop out of school and that get suspended or out of the classroom, almost all those statistics have happened with my son. I have been dealing with a host of different issues that those statistics speak for. Little things that he got suspended for in kindergarten were being in the bathroom too long, horse playing with his friends, talking back to the teacher. When he got older, he even got suspended for telling a teacher the school he attended was not the best school of the state. So you can imagine the frustration this child may have felt. When you think about our babies, our youngest learners, and you think about the shame that they may feel when they do something wrong, when you have to discipline a child, you think about those things that you want to teach that child from that lesson. You know, what did you do wrong? What could you do better? What could you do in that place of that action? And what are the consequences? And to me, a suspension is truly the harshest consequence for some of those actions that we give our youngest learners. We're teaching them to be aware and be afraid of a consequence that will take them out of the classroom, away from their friends, and definitely out of the learning environment that they have learned to love. What would it look like if we used other discipline measures, if we encompassed that child with the love of the village instead of showing them the power of a punishment? I implore you to really look at the statistics from suspensions data here in Minnesota. I also work with tons of parents, and suspensions are real, and kids do not understand them. They're not understanding why they're away from their friends and why the harsh punishment is to something else. I implore you to look at different ways to make this available to families. And we're not talking about the worst things that kids can do. We're talking about things that are subject to an opinion of a teacher. Talking back, being disrespectful, needing to take a break and walking out of the classroom. What I think needs to be done is those things need to be addressed differently and need to have love and support around them instead of the harshest discipline measures, which is suspension. The things that happen when your kid gets suspended from kindergarten all the way to 15 every year, they're real. The things that I'm going through with my son, I wish I could go back and change some of the trajectory that he had with all these different things in education so that he wouldn't be going through so much now as a 23-year-old son. I'm here for him. I'm here for a lot of children in my community. I'm also raising grandchildren. I have a grandson that is having a difficult time in school. And I tell them, call me, write me, text me, whatever you need to do. Just don't suspend my child, don't suspend my grandchildren, and make this a generational thing that I have to deal with. And I'm asking you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Ms. Drawn. Next, we have Kulia Pringle, who is also coming to us remotely. If you would please turn on your camera, state your full name for the record, and then you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Education Committee. My name is Kulia Pringle, and I'm the Minnesota State Director for the National Parents Union. And we provide one-on-one support to families as they navigate the pre-K through 12th grade education system. And I see firsthand the effects of suspensions have on our youngest learners. We do know that there is an academic disparity when it comes to Black children in this state, and that 4 out of 5 Black children cannot read at grade level. Kindergarten through 3rd grade is the time that kids are learning how to read. We cannot afford to send our 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds out of the classroom at that time where they're learning how to read. The Code on Dyslexia talks about when kids aren't getting the foundational skills that they need, they will show behavior problems in the classroom. If you cannot function in the classroom, what better way to get out of the experience or the space is to act out and then go home. Parents talk about having to take off time from work, so that's an economic burden when a child has to go home for a suspension that is subjective to, as Tonya said, to a teacher's opinion of a child. Kids see the differences in one child is doing something and nothing happens to them, and then they do something and then they get suspended and they go home and they say, Mom, my teacher doesn't like me. I know they don't like me. I know they don't like me. Every time I do something, they're constantly kicking me out of the classroom. But when they see another student do something, the same consequence isn't happening to that child. My slogan has been for the last year is read or die. If we do not allow our children to actually learn how to read in that time, we are surely to see what's going to happen. We're surely to see adults in our society like Tonya's who are suffering mentally, who are suffering financially, who are suffering just in general and cannot function in society and be contributors to society in a healthy way. And I'm begging, we've been at this for the last couple of years, and I know Ideal is going to speak to that. We just got to do better here in Minnesota. We cannot continue to do things. And Minnesota Department of Education has done a great job of having a non-exclusionary disciplinary department, and they have practices. There's evidence-based stuff out there where teachers can put in their toolbox, and we don't need to suspend our 5, 6, and 7-year-olds no more. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pringle, for joining us this morning and sharing your thoughts and your views. I hope things go very much better for your young son. Next, we have Bernadia Johnson, who is also joining us remotely. Bernadia, if you would please state your full name for the record, and you may begin.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Finance Committee. I'm here to speak on Senate File 69. My name is Dr. Bernadia Johnson. I'm an associate professor at Minnesota State University, Mankato. I'm the former superintendent of the Minneapolis Public Schools and board chair of Minnesota Education Equity Partnership and members of the Solution Not Suspensions Coalition. Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience with addressing the achievement gap and discipline disparities that create exclusionary environments for our students in pre-K through 12th grade, though this bill is focused on our littlest learners. I knew as superintendent I had to tackle this persistent issue because students who are not in school cannot learn, students who are pushed out of school lack a sense of belonging, and students who don't learn how to do school cannot develop agency. Therefore, I started with our littlest learners by putting a moratorium on suspending students in pre-K through 2nd grade, these students for nonviolent behaviors. Our state has such gaping discipline disparities for students of color and students with disabilities. This happens when teaching is not rigorous, expectations are not clear, consequences don't match the behavior, and when consequences differ based on student demographic. How did I know this as superintendent? Well, my academic leadership team and I reviewed suspensions for every student to identify what we could do to identify trends and behaviors, to allocate resources and target professional development. This led to an investment in school-based mental health models. Rewriting the discipline policy removed the subjective categories like the 3 Ds, disrespect, disorderly conduct and defiance, and increased professional development and an emphasis on keeping students in school so they can learn to read, write, and compute. I often share the example of a kindergarten student who kept putting on her lip gloss and created a distraction to the teacher. The teacher asked to put it away, but she didn't, and the teacher grabbed the lip gloss from her. The student reached and pushed her chair to the floor and ran out of the classroom, just disturbed because this was her lip gloss, her possession. The student was suspended for being unsafe. Again, loss of instructional time. Or the story of 2 middle school boys who broke items in the school on the same day. The black child was suspended for vandalism, and the white child was sent home with his mom with a stern talking to, because it was found that his parents were going through a divorce, exceptions for one kid and punishment for the other. My efforts continued after the superintendency. As a professor at Minnesota State Mankato, I continue to challenge those learning to be effective school administrators to refrain from using suspensions as a tool to address the behaviors. We spend time sharing alternatives to suspensions that can be deployed in the environments where they will lead. I encourage leaders to view their own school data and identify patterns. I'm often surprised when those in my classes are surprised and shocked by the data, by the number of suspensions, and by the who of suspensions. They're like, I just believe we were doing that. I understand that causation is not correlation, and I recognize that students must be in school to have the opportunity to learn. If we don't believe that this is the case, then that's another discussion. We must be clear and consistent, have clear and consistent expectations for our students, and more importantly, we must not socialize our children to believe that school is not a place for them. And when we start suspending our littlest learners, we say school is not for you. You can't develop the skills to stay in school to learn. And when our youngest learners are struggling and doing things that don't meet expectations, it's often because their needs are not being met. We need to find ways to figure out those unmet needs. It could be a sense of belonging, a sense of agency, or learning, how to meet them. We owe it to our youngest learners to keep them in school and not send them the message that from the earliest grades, the school is not for them. From my personal and professional experience, I know we must continue with a tool that is we must not continue with a tool that is overused and detrimental to students. You have the power to make a common sense change to keep our youngest learners in school, and you have the moral imperative as a member of the village to support our children. I ask you to use it to benefit the children. Thank you for listening and learning from my experiences.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Johnson. I appreciate your dedication to our students and to their school systems here in Minnesota and the many years that you have put towards this effort. So thank you very much. Next, we will move on to Josh Croson. He is here in person. If you'd like to step up to the mic, say your full name, and you may begin.
Hi, yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Josh Croson. I'm the Executive Director of Ed Allies, which is an education advocacy group here in Minnesota that makes sure that each and every kid has access to an excellent education. I'm here to testify in support of SF 69, which would eliminate the use of suspensions and limit the use of expulsions for our youngest learners. At Ed Allies, we depend on the research and we depend on the data to help us understand the systemic, student-centered change that our kids need. And the research is clear. Dismissals just don't work. When students are suspended or expelled, their relationship with their educators are ruined. They are less likely to graduate high school. They're more likely to enter the criminal justice system and less likely to contribute to society in meaningful ways. They are also less likely to have their behavior improved in the long term. As for their peers that they leave behind, research also shows that their peers do worse in school when they see their friends be dismissed. Instead, schools must use discipline as a teaching tool, especially for our youngest kids. I'd like for you all to think about it this way. You all have kids at home, or most of you have kids at home. When they act up, does kicking them out of your home for 2 days solve their behavior problem? Or does having your kids listen and understand that the harm that they've caused hurts somebody, and having them apologize for that harm actually works better to improve their behavior. As kids are learning how to become kids, we have to use every opportunity we can to improve their behavior in the long term. And again, dismissals just don't work. Second, I believe that all kids in Minnesota have the constitutional right to a free and appropriate education. If you also believe that, then how can a school administrator have the ability to unilaterally take away that constitutional right without significant due process or just cause? Last year, Minnesota took away that constitutional right from 68,900 times from students. We took away that right 3,347 times for attendance-related issues. Yes, for kids that missed school, their punishment was missing more school. We took away the right to an education 18,181 times for disruption, which we still haven't been able to define as a state. And we took away that right 2,900 times for literally unknown reasons. And for our youngest learners, as was mentioned by the Department of Education, 5,700 times, sullying our youngest learners' experiences with school altogether at the earliest stages of their schooling. Minnesota also dismisses Black and Native kids at more than twice the rate Black and Native kids are dismissed in other nationwide. So Minnesota is especially good at suspending and expelling Black and Native kids compared to other states in the country. And where only 15% of our kids have disabilities, half of all suspensions are for kids with disabilities. This just widens our achievement gaps even further, making our already embarrassing and notorious achievement gaps in Minnesota even worse. During today's hearing, you'll hear arguments that dismissals are a tool administrators want to protect. Again, the research and data show that dismissals are like building a house with a carrot. It doesn't work, and it frankly just makes a huge mess. We can find better tools. You'll hear egregious and disturbing stories that paint some students as violent. First, this bill does not take away the ability to remove a student from class. That protection is still in law. And it allows for expulsions in rare instances when there's an ongoing concern and safety issue. It makes expulsions and exclusions a last case scenario and not a first case scenario. You'll also hear from school leaders that this does not happen in their schools. That's great. The data shows that over suspensions are happening in schools throughout the state. It's systemic, and for those schools that are doing great, you won't be breaking the law. Lastly, I encourage all of you to look beyond the adult concerns being raised here, and I want you all to think about the kids and families whose lives that we've heard from today already, but the kids and lives throughout the state who are being upended because of archaic and harmful discipline practices. Please do what's hard and prioritize the needs of the kids who are rarely prioritized. Thank you again, Madam Chair, for this opportunity to speak and testify, and I'll be available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Croson. Next, we have Adil Abdul coming to us remotely. If you would please turn your camera on, introduce yourself with your full name, and you may begin your testimony.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you to everybody who testified before me. My name is Adil Abdul, and again, thanks, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to testify this bill in support. I also want to thank Senator Mann. The first time I testified about not suspending our children, Madam Chair, you were a representative in the House. So it has been many, many, many years coming. This bill has been introduced every session for years now. I'm hoping that this is the year that it is finally carried to the finish line. My son, who has autism, was suspended by Bloomington School District on Thursday, May 3rd, 2018 at 5:18 p.m. This was a traumatizing day for our family because my son did not understand suspension then, he does not understand it now. His routine was disrupted. This day, his communication device was denied to him. He uses an iPad with a communication app to communicate, to speak, and make his needs and wants met. I'm going to let Ed Elias, and I know Josh just spoke, but and MD tell you the data, right? We know that students of color, we know students with disabilities are suspended disproportionately in Minnesota and in this country. And quite frankly, as a Black woman, I am tired of my middle name being Disparity. Disparity. I am tired of that. And I want people to accept that 2 + 2 is 4, not 3.5, not 5. All of us, whether you are a Democrat or Republican, we have to accept data. We have to accept facts. Otherwise, we're living in a la-la land. I often hear from the opposing side that suspension must be in their toolbox. For students with disabilities, at least, the toolbox must have kindness, it must have compassion, it must have empathy, it must have knowledge, training, and most of all, human decency, not suspension. These are children who are in a special classroom. The adults who chose this profession need to understand the child's needs, their behaviors, and their disabilities. In other words, one cannot be a chef and then complain because they don't like the smell of food. You cannot be a pilot and then say, I'm afraid of heights. I suggest that if school districts want to add suspension in their toolbox, perhaps not getting funded while the student is suspended should also be in this toolbox. Why are school districts getting paid for work that they're not doing? The money should follow the student, not the district. Imagine working for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and getting paid for 5 days. That's what's happening now in schools. They're being funded while the kid is not in there. That is not fair. It's not cost effective and certainly not humane. Finally, just because you have been lucky enough that your child has not experienced this horrifying event does not mean that your fellow Minnesotans have not. Please do not deny our pain and our experience. We need to pass this bill this year. Thank you again for the time to testify.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul. Yes, and I do remember your testimony over the years, so thank you for being here again today and sharing your story with us. Next, we have Nancy Antoine, who is coming to us remotely. If you would please turn your camera on, you may introduce yourself with your full name and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the committee. Really appreciate this opportunity to testify today. My name is Nancy Antoine. I'm the principal at Bridgewater Elementary in Northfield, and this is my 16th year as principal here. I have been a principal for 20 years. Bottom line, our kids do belong in school. I totally agree with that. As one of the very few principals of color in Minnesota, I understand the problem. I truly understand the problem. However, there are situations where there's very few times when I need to suspend a child. So let's back that train up. The first thing I do at the beginning of the year is I start building those relationships with students, with their families, and building that relationship obviously with their teachers as well, making sure that we have things in place that we can fall back on when we need them with our students. I want those children to be in school because, yes, I agree, they need to learn how to read. Ms. Pringle defined that very, very well. It is a matter of life or death for our kids to learn how to read. There's those very rare situations where our kids do become violent, and I have been in those spaces when I've got a child who is pummeling a teacher of mine, and to say that, well, we've got to keep that kid there for the day because, well, they went into that line of teaching, they should expect that. That's not okay. I have written too many accident reports because of injuries that were caused to my staff by students. Yes, they were dysregulated. It didn't mean that they're an awful child. It meant they had a dysregulated moment. And so there are times when I will suspend that child for the remainder of the day so we can plan for programs so that we can make sure that when that child comes back, they can be successful. I want that child to be successful. And the very next day when they return, I will be the first one to greet them because, again, I have that relationship with those students, and I want to make sure that they know they are welcome, they're wanted, and they are a valued part of our community, and I want them here. I want them to learn. I just don't want, I want to be, and when you say, yes, we don't want this tool to be in our tool belt, I need this to be in my tool belt because I need to have that timeout so I can program for that child to be successful. And I'm not talking about suspending a child for a week or time after time after time. Absolutely not. I'm looking for a half day or a full day so that I can make sure that, again, my staff are safe and my staff have a chance to get to see medical care in the meantime. I've had so many that have had to go see a doctor based on the things that have happened. And when you talk about the rights of students, let's address that for a minute. So I've got a child who is dysregulated. They're throwing chairs in the classroom. They're throwing books at classmates, and I can't remove that child. I have to remove the entire class. Whose right to learn is it that day? You know, when they've taken away the rights of the entire class. And when we talk about, well, we can just remove them from class, I don't have the people there to watch those children on a daily basis. We don't have spare people in our building that are just there in case something goes wrong. Unless, of course, we would like to fund special education at 100%, looking at the cross subsidies, then I would have the funding that I could have a counselor there, or I would have a mental health provider, or God forbid, I would have an assistant principal. I don't have any of those people sitting on my bench. I have me, myself, and I have the teachers. Again, the teachers cannot suspend a child. They can recommend that to me, but I am the one that determines whether that child is suspended or not. It's only the principal or the superintendent who can suspend a student. As far as expelling a child, the principal is not allowed to do that. I can recommend that to the school board, but I don't have the authority to do that. I would like to implore the committee to take a look at the schools and/or districts where we have these significant problems and work with those specific schools rather than using that broad brush to paint us all into the same light, because not all principals, not all schools, not all districts handle this in the very same manner. And that's what I would implore you to do. Don't handle us all like it's the problem of every single school in the state, because it isn't all of us. As a person of color, I look out for my black and brown babies. I'm the one that stands in the corner for them, because yes, I am the only licensed person of color in my building, and I will stand up for them 100% of the time. And I will not back down from that. I've had times when I've had a teacher that said, we need to send this child home, and I have been the one saying, absolutely not. Just because they said, F you today, that's not suspension worthy. Just because they said they were disrespectful to you, that's not suspension worthy. This child deserves an education. But again, please don't paint us all with that same broad stroke and say that we're all doing the wrong thing. We take our job seriously to build relationships with children, with families, and with staff. It's also my job to keep staff and students safe, especially my students. It's my job to keep them safe. And at some time, it may call for me to suspend a child. Again, I am looking at a half day, a full day. I'm not looking for taking them out for weeks on end. That's not in my mind, that is not okay. We have made many changes in terms of education, especially since the beginning of the pandemic. And so we've got school leaders right now who are doing many things different than they did even 10 years ago. Especially not 20 years ago. I came from that school environment where things were not done the right way. And that's one of the reasons why I went into administration, so that I could right some of those wrongs, especially for our children, especially for our youngest children. Again, when you talk about, well, we need to work with this child, we need to have them in school. And again, that comes with it's an unfunded mandate, because I don't have the funding to have someone of that mental health provider who can sit with that child and work with them. So I just want to make sure that you understand the other side, where we're not abusing this. And don't paint us into the same box. But I understand, and I understand where you're coming from when you want those kids in school, because I agree with that as well. Kids are safer in school. They do better when they can be in school. And I want my children in school because I value them, I trust them, and they are our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Principal, for taking the time today. We do have one question. Would you have a minute for a question? Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I probably won't pronounce your name, Miss Ann. You're from Northfield. Yeah. Okay. So the reason that I wanted to, or the reason I wanted to comment and question is that when I knew that this bill was coming up today, I called all of the principals that I know back in my district in District 7, and I texted them the link to this bill and asked them, what do you think? Because I don't want to make decisions on something like this just because of my own belief. And every single one of them said the exact same things that you said, that they were afraid that this would take something out of their toolbox. They don't suspend kids indefinitely, but they made the point that when a child is dangerous, either to themselves or to other students, that sometimes they might need a half a day off, they might need a day off. And so I guess my question is, and I'll preface it by saying that the principals that I talked to said that usually is enough, then the kid can come back the next day and they're ready to learn, but they say they're so upset, they're not losing any learning time anyway because they're so upset and they're so worked up that they're just incapable in that moment of learning. So I'm just wondering if you agree with that sort of cooling off time is more beneficial than fighting with the kid and trying to keep them in school, because that sounds like what you're saying, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear on it.
Principal Antoni.
Yes. So, yeah, my name is Antoine like a coin. But yes, that's really what I believe is just taking a time out and giving some separation there so we have time to plan appropriately for that child to be successful. That's what I'm looking for.
Thank you. All right, thank you for joining us again. We have one last testifier, John Luksic, and he is coming to us remotely as well. Mr. Luksic, if you would please state your full name for the record, and you may begin.
Yes, Madam Chair and Education Finance Committee, my name is Jason Luksic. I'm principal at Lincoln Elementary in Bemidji, Minnesota. It's a kindergarten through third grade school. We also hold our three sections of our Excel program, which is a district level ASD program for students who are federal setting 3 students for ASD. I'm also the president of MESPA, which is our Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to testify today on this bill. Looking at the bill and listening to Nancy's testimony as well as the other testifiers, there's a lot of discussion back and forth about the subjective and objective points. I don't think there's any part of us as principals or adults in the building that are trying to keep kids safe, that the subjective part, the disorderly or disruptive, that we need to work on that and that we need to eliminate or reduce the number of suspensions based on that. The objective ones are the ones that we're worried about. And Senator Farnsworth, you asked that question of, if a student is a danger to themselves or to others, is that a time that we can look at suspension? And that's the main part that I want to look at. My job as a principal is to make sure that the school is safe. I talk to students, my kindergarten through third graders, we talk about it every day, respectful, responsible, and safe. And I always talk to students when I have a kindergartner come in, because we're teachers and they're learners, and we're teaching and learning every single day. I have kindergartners that come in, I have conversations with them. It's the first time in the office. We talk about being safe. My job is to keep the school safe. The only way I can do that is by them being safe and keeping their hands and feet to themselves, going through that whole process. And really, and I've talked about this before, of a tiered approach. Of the tier 1 is us as a school talking about what a community looks like, a school community, but then also our larger community and what that looks like. 80% of our students are successful, 90% of our students are successful at that. But we do have some students that need to look at that tier 2, and it can be things that are mental health related. It can be things, one of the testifiers talked about finding out that parents going through a divorce, that some things happened that morning. Many times it is items that or situations outside of school that cause for our kids to be upset or to lose control during the day. So many times it is a very short, we need a half day, a full day to get under control, take that break. Everybody takes a deep breath. We talk about how to support that student, but it comes down to the staffing and the supports. Nancy mentioned, it's just herself as a principal. Many times those students that do come down are sitting with me. I'm obviously trying to run a school and keep my staff going and my students, the whole student body going as well. But I work with those students very closely, and I would be, I mean, it's fairly upsetting sometimes hearing that we're looked at as that we want to suspend these kids. I don't want to suspend any of my kids. They're like my own kids. I have 4 of my own kids in the school system, and I think it's appropriate to understand that as a principal, we don't look at suspending kids and take that lightly. Our kindergarten through 3rd grade students need to be in school, and we need to look at those tiered approaches. A tier 2 would be a social worker or a counselor, somebody that would be able to work with them, talk about the things that are bothering them. If they have those situations in the morning that are causing them grief or loss or anything that, really struggle to pay attention and be a part of the classroom. But then that tier 3 would be CTSS or therapy and skills work that students need. And so many of our students are coming to us with that need, and we're not able to address it because we don't have the staffing to be able to do that. So once again, I'd urge you to look at that. Currently, the bill addresses expulsion and exclusion, but suspension would be looked at as not able to suspend anyone K through 3rd. So I'd like you to look at that and just look at that language and look at that objective and versus subjective and how we can frame that out within the language so that we can address that and keep our learners in school. I agree with that. We want to do that as much as we can so that we develop learners and readers and they grow to be a part of our community. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to testify today. And if I look forward to working with any of you. If you have questions, please reach out, email, phone, anything, because I will work with you on that to try to figure out a way that we can come to a conclusion on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Principal Luksic. Are there any questions? Senator Westland has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Mann, for bringing this to us today, and thank you for really a very good discussion. I have probably a couple of questions and a couple of comments. My understanding...
Just, excuse me, is this for our previous speaker, or is this for Senator Mann?
I think this is probably for Senator Mann.
Okay, thank you then. Go ahead.
My understanding, because we've heard about what's available to the school and what is not. My understanding is this is limited to K through 3, and that where there's an issue of safety and an ongoing safety threat, that exclusion and expulsions and suspension might still be available. My understanding is that hasn't been taken out of the toolbox. As I understand the concern being raised is that children are being removed from the classroom for things that are not safety issues. And that what is happening is that the disparity is that children of color, Black students, Native American students in particular, are being removed for behaviors that would not fall under that category of unsafe conduct, more disrespect, perhaps. So if you could clarify that point for me, that's my understanding of the bill. Do I have that right?
Go ahead, Ms. Senator Mann.
Madam Chair, thank you, Senator, for that question. So I think there is a basic misunderstanding of what the bill does or doesn't do. We have not removed that tool out of anybody's toolbox, right? Provision 121A.61, subdivision 3R still remains in statute, and that states that a student must be removed from the classroom if the student engages in assault or violent behavior. So the instances that Principal Antoine was describing where a child is tossing chairs or repeatedly hitting a teacher in the head, absolutely, you remove that child from the classroom, and that remains in here. The other thing we keep hearing is that it is a tool, that is only used as a last resort. And I'm very happy to hear those principals say that. Thank you for that. However, we know that in 43 other school districts in the state of Minnesota who have been cited by the Minnesota Department of Human Rights for using discriminatory use of exclusionary discipline, it is not a last resort. It might be a last resort for white children, but it absolutely is not a last resort for Black, Indigenous, or children with disabilities.
Follow-up, Senator Westland?
Yes, and I guess I would just follow up with this too, especially when we're talking about kids K through 3. And as we're trying to address how to best educate our youngest learners in particular, I think it's important for us to understand the impact of adverse childhood experiences and trauma on kids who may be having things happen, as we've discussed, in their home. And K through 3 students in particular don't have, as I understand it, and Senator Mann can probably confirm this, they don't have much of a prefrontal cortex, K through 3. And what kids who are experiencing adverse childhood experiences, kids who have an inability to regulate their emotions, what they need is modeling for regulation. And they may not be getting that at home. And what they need within our school system, and what I understand this bill to be doing, is to helping kids learn to be regulated, helping them learn restorative practices, which means when they behave in a way that has hurt or been harmful to someone, that they have the opportunity to understand that behavior, to engage in a restorative practice of apologizing and so on. Again, we're talking about kindergarten through 3rd grade here. And these are our kids who need to be in school. And what I also heard, and then I'll end because I know we're coming to the end here, I heard both of our principals mention lack of staffing because of lack of funding. And I'm going to guess layered on top of that are people who maybe do not have adequate training to actually address and deal with the issues that our kids are experiencing. So as we are going through the process this year about funding education, we hear over and over again that we need to fund special education, we need to have properly trained professionals, we need to keep kids in the classroom, and we need to understand the kids who are coming into that classroom and helping that child learn to be emotionally regulated and learn to engage in restorative practices.
Any other questions? Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Port, I'm wondering, and this is more your interpretation, I think, of this line in the bill. Line 1.18 says circumstances where there's an ongoing serious safety threat to the child or others. So I guess first, would you consider that just physical safety or physical and verbal? Like, if one child is, using racial slurs, that was an example that one of the principals that I talked to yesterday said, I sent the kid home because he was, verbally attacking another kid. So, what are your thoughts on that one?
Senator Mann, Dr. Mann.
Madam Chair, so in this particular instance, when we reach that space where a teacher or a principal believes that there is an ongoing threat, whether it's verbal or physical, that's when everyone is brought into the same room to have that conversation. The family is brought in, the teacher, the principal, the supporting staff, whoever is there, and then they can decide together whether or not that is an ongoing threat and whether that child needs to be removed from the classroom.
Thank you. Follow up?
Yes. And the other concern I have with this is the word ongoing. And so there have been instances, I think, across the state where, and schools have, policies with no weapons, no knives or guns or whatever should be brought on. And in a lot of these cases, if they bring a firearm, even if it's like a pellet gun or an airsoft gun, it's an automatic expulsion for a year. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on, because that's clearly not ongoing. That's, if it just happens one time. I know of and this is a 5th grade kid that I recall, that brought an airsoft gun. He was expelled for a year. So I'm just wondering, that's obviously serious, but not ongoing.
Response, Senator Dr. Mann.
Madam Chair, Senator, so this is the current law, so this would not change that current law.
Thank you. Senator Cruin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The expulsion for possession of a firearm is in 121A.44. I don't necessarily agree that this clearly keeps that intact. If a student were to bring a firearm to school, I don't see anything in this language that would tell the school district that that automatic suspension is required, I think they would still nevertheless have to go through this procedure that's set forth in this new law, because there's no reference to 121A.44 in this bill. And so I'm not saying that that's the intent, but that would be my interpretation of it. And if the intent is to keep that in law, I think it should be specifically addressed in this bill. Thank you.
Response?
Madam Chair, thank you, Senator. So again, it doesn't talk about that because it doesn't change that law. So.
All right, any other questions? Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is a comment, or a couple of comments. First, I heard a couple of the testifiers talk about how exclusion, students that are, expelled or suspended tend to have worse lifelong measures of success. They have worse mental health issues. And I think that the assumption is that the suspensions are what is causing this. And I think we have to look at the whole picture, that it's not the fact that a student was suspended. The student was suspended for certain behaviors that are a manifestation of deeper emotional problems. And so I think it's sort of a false correlation to assume that the suspension is what is causing these poor lifelong behaviors. And then the other thing that I just want to point out, so our first day of committee, we had people testifying about how we're losing teachers. And so I called almost every teacher that I know after we had those over the course of about 2 weeks. And I said, okay, so we're hearing that teachers are leaving the profession because they don't make enough money and because they don't have retirement. Why would you consider leaving? And every single one of them said student discipline. They said they can handle the job, they love to teach. The reason they're pushing for the rule of 90 to come back is because they know they can make it maybe another 10 years dealing with these behavior problems, but they probably can't make it till they're 65 or 66. And so I think looking at a bill like this, probably, I know that the principals that I talked to yesterday, it sort of scares them because it's like, is this going to make it even more difficult to deal with discipline? And so I think that I just want to caution this group that I haven't talked to one teacher that's like, I want out of the profession because of pay or because I'm losing the pension. They want a better pension so that they can stop having to deal with the disciplines because they don't get to actually teach what they want to teach. So
Thank you for that. Senator Dr. Mann, we are now over our time, and I'm wondering if you have any closing comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly, I think when these conversations come up, we talk about principals, we talk about teachers, but we, again, remove the black and brown kids who are at the center of this and who are suffering the consequences of the way things are, and are suffering in these disparities. So I would like to bring them back to the center of the conversation, and this is what it's for.
Thank you so much. And with that, Senator Dr. Mann renews her motion. Oops. Excuse me. Senator Umuver-Baden renews her motion to lay Senate File 69 over for possible inclusion in our future omnibus bill. And we are adjourned.